Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, the number one source for news, analysis, and discussion on the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and all things hockey. Here are your hosts, Ryan Hanna, Brad Crisco, and Evan Lopsinger.
Brad, look at our prophet. This is supposed to be our prophet. Washed up, bro. How many has he gotten wrong this year? He could not have been more catastrophically wrong with every prediction so far this tournament.
Today is the worst day of my life.
Your Sullivan Lopsinger is downstairs screaming because he's like, I should have been one of the Canadian forwards today.
He was heavily considered.
Should have been. We should give like a minute of silence, not out of respect, but so all of our American listeners can take the time to yell into their, whether it's their car stereos or their computer screens, and just dunk on Evan for the
Well,
doubt.
if you had been on the internet in the last 15 minutes, I said America now has earned the right to play for Super Gold against Italy.
That's right, yeah, that's the real game of the tournament. Forget Canada.
That was just the warm-up game.
Italy actually converts on offensive chances.
That's right.
What an insane game that was. Whatever side you were watching from, that was a game for the ages. I said going in, regardless of the fact that it ended in 3-3, I said going in, that game deserved a proper NHL playoff style overtime. But regardless, I can't remember a more intense game in recent memory, period. And that surpassed even the Four Nations final in my mind in terms of what the stakes felt like. It was an all-timer.
Made the Four Nations final look like an inter-squad game in terms of pressure, stress, seizing the moment, all those sorts of things.
We talked about it time and time again, in all of the years where NHL players weren't at the Olympics. It's you can have best on best tournaments, you can organize whatever. The NHL will do the World Cup of Hockey, which hopefully sticks on an offsetting 4-year cycle, so we have something every 2 years. Absolutely, and you should do that. Nothing compares to the Olympics. I hope people who never understood or never were exposed to it, I hope they get it after watching that today, what this means.
Hockey fans have been robbed too long of best on best, and this tournament has done nothing but to show that point. There is Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, as a Red Wings fan, might feel like this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's nothing like this. Almost every single game in this tournament was worth watching and entertaining.
After all that, Dylan Larkin, Detroit's very own captain, Olympic gold medalist, a champion, his first smell of success in God knows how long, and Hockeytown could be happy for that. And most of Hockeytown is also happy about the gold medal too. We'll get into that. Folks, welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, here to talk to you about all things Detroit Red Wings hockey, Olympic hockey. Team USA takes home gold over Canada in the world of the NHL, and lots more. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, you're going to be able to guess the Olympic gold medal game. We're going to recap it fully, the integral role Dylan Larkin played in it, what this means for him coming home to Hockeytown in the upcoming playoff push, some other news and notes before overtime. Very quickly, Saturday, March 21st, Winged Wheel Podcast Night at the LCA. That's our partnered event with the Detroit Red Wings, where we host a live episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast at Little Caesars Arena before the game. That's the Bruins game. So your ticket, get it at wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings, or go to the link in the description. Your ticket gets you access to that game at a discounted rate. It also gets you access to the pregame live recording of the show featuring Ken Daniels, lead announcer of the Detroit Red Wings, and other special guests. Plus, it also gets you a co-branded limited edition Detroit Red Wings and Winged Wheel Podcast hat. It has the Centennial logo on front, the Winged Wheel Podcast logo on the side, and it's the red and cream colorway. They're sick. And you also make a donation. Inherently, every ticket purchase represents a donation to the Jamie Daniels Foundation. So again, wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings. I think we're down to our last 25% of them or so. We're about a month out here. All right, let's jump into the game. It was always going to be Canada versus USA rematch. It was never going to shake out any other way. I think as you saw the tournament go on too, those were the two best teams by far. And
You definitely saw Finland finally start to figure out, gave Canada a massive scare. I've aged terribly because of this tournament. And you saw Slovakia just run out of gas, and
Yeah.
the U.S. worked them pretty good, and it set up the ultimate finals.
This game started, and both teams and both fan bases, both American and Canadian fan bases, they were staring down the barrel of one another thinking, who are these guys really this year? Because they haven't faced each other yet since last year's Four Nations, and they're wondering how much of their performance in their group stage and their elimination games, what does that make them in this game? And I'll say the way this game started, that first minute and a half, where Canada's best players were hemmed in their own zone by the Americans, Quinn Hughes and such. I was like, oh man, this is going to be interesting. It looked like Team USA was grabbing control early.
All those thoughts you had of Canada's roster construction, all the concerns came to fruition in the start of that game when Canada's dream forward line is getting hemmed in. I was like, okay, America is who they thought we were, and this is going to be a rough game for Canada. Hopefully they can just scrape by and get something.
Yeah.
Beat Connor Hellebuyck and maybe get away with something here.
And we'll say, I think the predictions going in, I had Team USA winning it. You two had Team Canada winning it. No one could say it was clear one way or another. It was a razor-thin margin, whether you're just going off vibes or the analytics and underlying numbers. It was an essential coin flip. I think Dom Luchichen's model had it at 51-49, which is about as close as you'll ever see a hockey game predicted. And it's funny, we'll talk about what did Canada in the end, other than Connor Hellebuyck and Jack Hughes' overtime winner. The things that did Canada in the end weren't necessarily what I was thinking about when I was predicting Team USA to win. I thought Canada had some deficiencies potentially in net, but especially with their defense. I thought their defense was questionable. And in the end, I thought there were other factors there that ultimately cost Canada.
Well, if you by other factors you mean Connor Hellebuyck, correct?
Yeah, I mean other than Connor Hellebuyck, he's the biggest one.
But a lot of the concerns with Canada, and again, when you have two powerhouse teams like this, a lot of the concerns mirror each other. But I think a lot of the concerns came to fruition outside of Cale Makar and Thomas Harley, and give Sanheim some credit. Canada struggled to transition the puck out of their D zone. They did not have puck movers. There were a lot of offensive zone cycles that died on the stick of a Colton Parayko or a Drew Doughty, although Doughty had a better game today than he had overall in the tournament. I'm not going to blame Jordan Binnington for this game.
Jordan Binnington made more than enough saves to give Canada the win today, period.
100%. But at the same time, both those goals were stoppable. You can't blame him for them, but the way Hellebuyck was going today, he stops those. And again, that's not to blame Binnington, but the argument, one of the big talking points was US's goaltending versus Canadian goaltending. Okay, Binnington wasn't bad, but Hellebuyck was a hell of a lot better. And then, Canada left off Scheifele, they left off Bedard, and you were wondering, okay, outside of, now this is before Crosby got hurt, the top two lines, where are the goals coming from? Well, they scored one goal. And that top line generated what felt like 98% of their scoring chances this tournament. And that part came to fruition. Now, that line, they were playing a lot and they were playing well. But I think both of these teams, for the most part, are who we thought they were. And in the most poetic way possible, this tournament was the ultimate showcase of the beauty of what hockey is. Slovakia goes on a run, an unexpected Cinderella. Was USA the better team this game? Absolutely not. I wouldn't even say it was close. But Connor Hellebuyck's part of Team USA, so that made them the better team.
Yeah.
Goalies are part of the team. And, you get all these chances, and Canada misses a few key point-blank opportunities in the third period.
I think that's underselling it too. A few, yeah, I can count 4 where they should have scored.
The U.S. felt like didn't have a scoring chance for 45 minutes, but the first one they got, they buried. It's the beautiful chaos of hockey where you can analyze this, predict that, go player by player, line by line. It's a random game. And sometimes guys get hot. Sometimes pucks bounce a funny way. And this whole tournament, just kind of the way it broke down, was the perfect encapsulation of it. Like, it was just awesome.
Where I ultimately land on this game was, I thought, was it in Canada's balance for the offense? Like, after Team USA went up 1-0, Canada, the onslaught essentially started. They ended up scoring. Cale Makar beats Connor Hellebuyck. It was a perfectly placed shot. It's not on Connor Hellebuyck, but it's funny that after all of that, it was a unscreened one-on-one shot that gets past him. But that's all Hellebuyck let in. But it was Canada carrying the balance of the game, really, other than penalty calls. That's the only time it shifted. And Canada, their inability to execute on clear breakaways with McDavid and Celebrini, and wide open nets where Devon Toews, I'm sorry, I don't watch
you pass that into the net. I mean, at the end of the day, Hellebuyck, that's maybe the greatest save in American hockey history.
Yeah, it has to be, right? Considering the context and what it brought home for them, their first goal in how many decades? Like, that's one of the greatest saves in hockey history, everything considered.
Yeah.
And all credit to Connor Hellebuyck. Devon Toews should have buried that. If you take a random NHL team's second to third line winger, that puck's in the net. If you take a random NHL team's second pair defenseman, most times the puck is in the net. Devon Toews is going to see that for the rest of his life and his nightmares. And I hate to be cruel to the guy, but that should have been in.
And that wasn't even the worst missed empty net of that period.
No, I think that was the worst all game.
Nathan MacKinnon?
I think MacKinnon, you know what? MacKinnon was on a one-time shot. Brad, you're a forward. You understand the way one-times go. I think Nathan MacKinnon has 17 types of dengue fever or whatever. Like, that guy is... So, it's still terrible. It's like a 1B, but I call Nathan MacKinnon's hitting the side of the net on a wide.
He had a carb once and now he's ill.
They served him his dinner at 10:30 and he still hasn't recovered from that.
Yeah.
That was pre-tournament.
I don't know. The only reason I give Toews at least a little bit more of a break than MacKinnon is there was a Connor Hellebuyck stick in the way of the Toews one. MacKinnon was staring at the full 4x6. There was nothing there between him and the net.
I think we can all agree here that the Colorado Avalanche really let their team down today.
Most of the world's problems can be traced back to the Colorado Avalanche.
And the Florida Panthers.
Yes. Oh my God.
Hey, hand up. Who am I if not a man of my word to apologize when I was wrong? I have said for years, you would love Sam Bennett if he was on your team.
The experiment is now complete.
Did not have a good time with it.
Who do I have?
Neither did Jack Hughes' teeth.
No. But man, what a story for Jack Hughes.
Rockstar. The definition of rockstar shit.
And for a guy who was terrible, really, at Four Nations, considered what was expected of him, got bullied, really. Like, that guy got physically bullied. He was taken out of the game last year. He had himself a great tournament, and he has himself one of the greatest goals in American hockey history. And the hockey smile to prove it, that's a hockey player, baby. Good for him.
The picture of him during the celebration, bloody, toothless smile, American flag draped over him. Forget presidential portraits in the White House. They need to put that picture up in the White House.
They might do it.
Like, honestly, that is the greatest picture in American history, and I will take no other arguments.
The way that game shook out, like, I think there was a lot of conversation to a mind-numbing degree all tournament about penalties and non-penalties and stuff. The way that game shook out, like, that was a hockey game. Yeah, you can argue missed calls either way and whatever. The high stickings on both teams, cut and dry. I don't want to hear
I
it.
can't believe people get so bent out of shape about high sticking calls. Like, they are what they are. Like,
this isn't like a hook in the hands or anything like it. That high sticks.
You hit someone in the face with your stick, you're responsible for your stick. That is a penalty. Sam Bennett took a 4-minute high sticking penalty. Like,
he knocked out his teeth. It should have been a 6-minute. 4 minutes for the whole tooth and another 2 minutes for the broken half tooth that he took out.
I'm surprised the IHF didn't just fire him from a cannon right to the sun.
I would have liked it if they did.
Yeah, I would have been there to light the match.
And he nearly cost Team Canada against Finland when he, for reasons unbeknownst to me, he ran over UC Saros with the most stacked offense maybe one of the most stacked offenses of all time of any hockey team ever behind him. And he's like, no, I need to shake up this
He turned
goalie.
UC Saros into the second best goalie in the tournament after that.
Stupid. Finland scored right after. And then in this game, like this is getting too Galaxy brain, but if you consider the pressure that Team Canada had, you can argue Sam Bennett robbed Canada of an opportunity to win that game in regulation by taking a 4-minute penalty. Now, some of that was offset by the penalty that Team USA took in the later stages of that 4-minute penalty.
Oh yeah, about 3-ish minutes later.
Yeah, but those would have been 3 key minutes where Canada had the balance of the attack. So Team USA is thanking Sam Bennett.
Well, it's a momentum killer. Like we talked about, from that first American goal up to that penalty, Canada was laying the boot to the States, and Connor Hellebuyck was the only reason that game was close. And then that gives the States 4 minutes to not only potentially get a goal, but reclaim the momentum and slow Canada down. I'm not saying Canada would have scored in those 4 minutes.
I would say they wouldn't, based on how things went, but they would have tried.
There would have been at least one open net that they would have missed.
I don't really love, like, on a roster that's stacked, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, they definitely would have won or lost if this guy was in or wasn't in. Like, I was saying going into this, Brad, you were talking about Canada's inability to transport the puck from the blue line up, and we've both been beating that drum. Josh Morrissey would have made a big difference for Canada all tournament, but man, you look at a game like that where Canada had every opportunity and just didn't execute, Sidney Crosby feels like he would have been the difference maker.
Oh, he's one of the greatest players of all time. You can't sit here and say he wouldn't have had an impact. Canada had one line that can consistently score goals this tournament, and that was the immediate issue as soon as Crosby got hurt. At least with Crosby, when he was with, I think it was Stone and Marner, they were generating a lot. They weren't getting quite the puck luck, but that dam would have burst eventually. And again, it's that, it was like we talk about, to relate it back to the Red Wings a bit here, when the Red Wings signed Travis Hamonic in the offseason, the optimists were like, it doesn't really matter. He's the 7th defenseman. He's not going to play more than a couple games. He'll probably go to Grand Rapids. He's played a lot this year, and he's cost him some points in the standings, just like, Crosby going out makes Sam Bennett back in the lineup, takes a dumb penalty. And we can even look at the States. Like, they were guilty of the same things. They only scored 1 goal in regulation. Robertson, DeBrincat, Caulfield would have helped in that. JT Miller was just as awful as everybody predicted in this tournament. He almost cost him the game against Sweden in that last minute. Like, it was his mistake. 2 mistakes, actually. Lost battle and missed a lane that he was supposed to cover when Raymond set up Zibanejad for that goal. Like, as much as hockey is a strong link game, the weak links matter too. I think both teams made mistakes on that front. Both those mistakes showed at points throughout the tournament. Both really showed in this game.
Yeah, that was one of the big takeaways. If you can debate on paper Canada's defense versus States, but when you see it in action and you see just the skating ability, their defensemen might be some of the best skaters on Canada.
Yes.
The way they can transport the puck with their stick and their feet versus Canada's defense, mind you, Bakar can transport the puck. Devon Taves is decent at it. Obviously, missing Josh Morrissey was a big hole for Canada. But just the duality between the two styles of defensive groups was jarring to me. And, I'm a big believer in, you get the mutant minute munchers down in the third pair. Maybe I started to change my opinion on that a little bit. I was like, maybe you just find defense who can just skate well and move the puck, and that's almost always the best defenseman in the league. So maybe you're not going to get that on your third pair or bottom half of your defensive group, but just the way that they can escape trouble and pressure with their feet, it makes their lives so much easier. Like, when you look at Canada, they needed Jordan Binnington to play third defense. When the Americans dumped the puck in, he had to be out and make outlet passes to the defenseman all tournament, all game. Like, that was a big gap, and Canada for sure would have needed a Matthew Schaefer. I could even see a Noah Dobson injected. Like, but this is all hindsight, right? But these are kind of concerns we had at the start of the tournament, and America's defensive group just
Oh.
impressive with their feet.
Something I want to give Team USA credit for, other than like obviously their defense, which we said coming into the tournament, this is the best defensive group on paper. It was the same for four nations, and dynamic skaters can do magical things transporting the puck, do magical things in the offensive zone. I thought they did an excellent job capitalizing on a pathological, almost deficiency in Canada's offensive strategy. They would endlessly look for the cross-seam pass as if they were playing Team France or Team Italy through 3 or 4 American bodies and sticks. And Team USA, they very much went for bend, don't break. I don't think that was their strategy coming into it, but they know, they're not stupid. They're like, look, if we have the triple Mac line in our defensive zone and they're on the attack, we're likely going to play defense that entire shift. And so whatever we do, we just have to protect the hard areas. And that's what they did. Canada kept a lot of control, and they were able to salvage a lot of possession and passing around the perimeter. And they got their grade A's for sure. They got in tight, but they didn't allow the cross-seam passes. They didn't allow Canada to get that perfect shot that they kept going back to and going back to and going back to. And I don't feel like Canada adjusted, and then Team USA exploited that. And that's how bend, don't break works, and that's how they survived to 3-on-3 overtime, where they had the players to get it done.
It was very obvious on the 5-on-3 as well. When Canada was on the 5-on-3, and the US just stuck to the middle, tried to keep sticks in the lane, and they tried to just limit the high danger chances. Like we said, Canada could have used another shooter, a Bedard out there to let some fly. And the fact that Cale Makar was the only player to beat Hellebuyck, and it was, I think America would take that shot 99 times out of 100 than the cross ice play. So yeah, it was a masterclass in bend, don't break. And you got to give it to the American centers as well. I think Austin Matthews, that game, probably had one of his best games, even though he didn't show up on the score sheet. Like, just the way he tracked back and broke plays up. And there was a great play from Jack Eichel too. I can't remember the Canadian player who was almost on a partial break, and Eichel just separated man from puck and made it a non-issue. America has a very strong 5-man defensive group all over the ice, and it made it very difficult for Canada to get to the middle.
Speak of that 5-on-3, incredibly crucial moment halfway through the game, 5-on-3. I turned to the people, my friends who were over watching. I said, I think this decides the game. I know it's dramatic, but with Canada down and their inability to execute, I'm like, if Team USA kills this, I just don't see Canada winning. Now, obviously, that the game shook out in a different
Guess you were right.
but I was accidentally right in the end. But 5-on-3, who do they go to? Dylan Larkin right away. Crucial kill. Dylan Larkin, like, I know that the face-off percentage was at north of 80% at one point. I don't know what he finished at, but just an absolutely integral player. Once again, earns his way up the lineup in more and more, not just ice time, but critical ice time as the tournament went on. Team USA does not win gold without Dylan Larkin. Yes, Connor Hellebuyck is the MVP of this game and was the reason they won this game, but Dylan Larkin, either in big moments where he scored the opening goal of the game twice for Team USA, or in critical moments where he has a huge kill or wins infinite faceoffs, that guy is the heart and soul of that team. You're right. Austin Matthews had himself a good tournament. I think he earned himself a lot of respect despite the lack of score sheet, but Dylan Larkin was as integral as almost anyone else for the red, white, and blue in my mind.
The pessimist Canadian in me really came out at the end of the tournament, because I feel awful saying this, and this is totally unfair pressure to put on Dylan Larkin. But after watching him that tournament, my first thought was, if I don't see this the rest of the damn season, I'm going to lose my mind.
Well, the thought is, hopefully now, another thing for Dylan Larkin, that hit early in the game, Wilson, massive hit.
Oh, God.
I actually looked away for a second, wrangling the dogs, and then someone said, oh my God, Wilson just destroyed one of the Kachucks. The grin on my face.
Best day ever.
And then they go to the replay, and I see Dylan Larkin's face coming around the net, and I went, oh no, that was horrible in slow-mo. I am so happy Dylan played the rest of that game. That was a rough hit for him to take.
That was a big hit. Still, no excuses. Show up for the playoff run.
Knock on wood, not carrying anything.
Brain's a long way from the heart, like Simon Edmondson says.
You know what? I'm all of a sudden into the old alchemy and metallurgy. Gold is just a healing element now. And
That's right.
it's on his neck, so hopefully Dylan's okay. But yeah, credit to Dylan. Oh, sorry, I wasn't done dunking on Red Wings opponents. So the Avalanche players let Canada down. The Panthers players. How many plays died on Brad Marchand's stick? Sam Bennett tried to give away the tournament, but Brad Marchand, how many plays died on his stick? And what did Sam Reinhart do?
I've never, everyone has been like, oh, Florida will figure it out. They're going to make the playoffs. I couldn't be any lower on Florida than I am right now. Like, very disappointed from the Florida Panthers players this tournament. Just essentially non-existent or existent in the absolute worst possible ways. Yeah, they ain't making the playoffs.
John Cooper was right to not want to take Bennett initially.
We can't just dunk on Canadian Florida Panthers this game. We got to talk about the States too. Matthew Tkachuk missed an open net on that power play in the third period that could have sealed the game for the States there with a few minutes left. So that's another Florida Panther whoopsie. And future Florida Panther Brady Tkachuk was invisible all game.
This is why they'll never win anything as a franchise.
Starting now.
Starting today.
Evan bumped his head coming to my door today, so he forgets everything that happened before
Evan
today.
just doomed the rest of the Atlantic Division to a 22-1-1 stretch from the Panthers when they get
the
back.
way my predictions have been going of the past 6 months, I think you're right.
Yeah. Actually, you want to know who had the worst time ever today? Winnipeg Jets fans.
Oh, no.
Winnipeg Jets fans, obviously all of them heartbroken that Canada lost, and they watched Connor Hellebuyck come up huge in a do-or-die game for it all. There is and they live in Winnipeg.
They're like, oh, well, he'll do it this year in the playoffs. And then they pull up the standings. They're like, he'll do it next year in the playoffs.
The only thing saving Connor Hellebuyck, because I think if Hellebuyck had been bad in Winnipeg all year and then puts in that performance, he'd get his ass booed his first game back. But he's actually been good this year. He has not been the problem in Winnipeg.
It is -18 Celsius, -1 Fahrenheit in Winnipeg today. They all just had to watch their country lose, their goaltender betray them and do what he couldn't do for their franchise. And it is -1 Fahrenheit out there. And that's not even the feels like. That's not even the wind chill.
Oh, yeah. Factor in the wind chill. They might not be out there in shorts, but they might be in a t-shirt spring jacket.
Yeah, hands in their pockets, no glove.
Hoodie at least.
Man. Yeah, that was an insane game. The fans of both nations just
people in
aged.
My mentions, they need to relax.
Evan, that's
I can't believe that they're shocked that I am like this.
I was just I was gonna say you can't be shocked you got those mentions. You brought it on yourself. I will say my mentions have been unusually calm since the game ended. I was expecting a lot more.
I'll take on the burden.
But you were a lot more vocal going into it, so I think that's just where all the hate got shifted.
I think so. I don't know how you do it, Brad. No wonder you've aged so poorly.
Evan saved 11 years of not posting and just let it all out and then lost.
Well, I was telling you before the episode, I had the one hilarious interaction during the game where I tweeted, man, Connor Hellebuyck looks unbeatable right now. Literally a minute later, Cale Makar scored. And all my responses were from 3 demographics of people. The Canadian followers who knew exactly what I was doing. And they were like, hell yeah, brother. Way to nail that one. The American listeners who didn't know I was Canadian, who were all just a flood of mentions. Shh, don't jinx it. And then the other third was American listeners who know I'm Canadian, who were basically responding, shut your dirty mouth or I will ruin your entire bloodline.
Yeah.
Well, that third was too busy in my mentions.
Oh, no, they showed up for that tweet.
Okay.
Again, I have my feelings about 3-on-3 overtime. We've been talking about it. For any game other than the gold medal, I thought they should have changed it. But regardless, that's not an excuse as to why Canada lost. Canada had the better 3-on-3 players. You could say that was poised to be an advantage, I think, just for the sake of the game. But regardless, it was still an all-timer. I thought it was, from a Red Wings perspective, awesome to see Dylan Larkin taste victory like that. I thought that moment of them carrying the Gaudreau jersey around and bringing the family out, like that was beautiful. Like I don't care who you're rooting for, like that choked you up.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was an awesome moment.
It was good to see Dylan Larkin this tournament kind of has had his I'll say Mo Seider moment, the groundswell of everyone this year being like, oh, Mo Seider's actually amazing and could be a Norris winner at some point in his career. I think this tournament has done a very similar thing for Dylan Larkin. Like, I was seeing a lot of national type people get on the Dylan Larkin hype train, really starting to be like, hey, this guy is legit and could and is the face of American hockey at the Olympics right now. So the Dylan Larkin stock has never been higher.
And I'll say there's been stories. Michael Russo wrote a story for The Athletic, but there have been lines and stories from the Hughes brothers, from the Tkachuk brothers, from Werenski, from it feels like every American player who's like, man, Dylan Larkin is the heart and soul of his team, like a great guy on and off the ice. He's so underappreciated for what he does in the game, like in the toughest minutes in the middle of the game where you're not exactly noticing it. He keeps us in it. He scores big goals. And to those guys, I say, you're absolutely right. You know ball. And boy, do I have a secret for you as to how you can experience that more often. Let me introduce you to the greatest franchise in America in the NHL, the Detroit Red Wings, where you get to play with Dylan Larkin even more so.
Speaking of which, I got a bone to pick with you specifically. And we talked about it last episode, and I think you quoted something about one of the Hughes brothers saying what a great leader Dylan Larkin is, and it was in something around this story. And you're like, oh boy, do I have a way for you to play with him more? I tweeted the monkey pot you. You know better than to throw that risk out in the universe.
Well, you take Trocheck now. Because that's what they would do. They would get Trocheck. Do you see what he said?
I was like, yeah, I retweeted the video of him saying, I'm going to get effing loaded tonight. I was like, you need to get him in Detroit immediately. That's a day one jersey buy for me.
Oh, man. Unbelievable.
That guy's smoking cigarettes tonight.
Yeah, he'll be the only one. Actually, he'll look over and see Elliot Friedman as well.
Yeah, Elliot's running out of darts in that pack, I think.
No one's running out of darts in Italy, Evan.
Him
they
tweeting
run out of electricity before they run out of darts.
Him tweeting the picture of I think his hand in a cigarette was hilarious.
That was his.
I love that. The Olympic, oh God, we've been robbed of this for so long. We got Elliot Friedman tweeting pictures of him smoking darts. Like, I can't wait for the next one.
I honestly can't. Yeah. Like this is, you need this. All three of us just experienced on a personal level heartbreaking loss, and we're sitting here. And
today's definitely the worst day of my life.
Oh, 100%.
But this whole, so I'm going to say,
exhilarating though. Boy, am I alive.
We got to track back, because I know we were guilty of having this opinion and harping on it all season and all this. So tracking back to before the Olympics, where us included and everybody else in the hockey world was complaining about how chaotic and condensed the NHL schedule is. Shut the hell up. This is worth it.
Worth it.
So worth it.
Well, no, they could just start earlier, Oh, no, people won't watch and see. Yeah, people don't watch other times of the year. Just start it earlier.
Give me this every year if we have to. Every weekend, AHL schedule. You're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't care. If that's the price to get this, I'm in.
Well, with 84 games, there'll be more back-to-back. So that may actually be what happens. They're gonna do split squad games at some point.
That might be a chance for.
With the way Grand Rapids is going, give me split squad games.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break to hear from the sponsors of the Winged Wheel podcast. A lot more after this. When your team goes on a cold streak, you tweak the lines. When your power play isn't clicking, you adjust the structure. But when your hair starts thinning, a lot of guys just try to ignore that and hope it fixes itself. The reality is, when hair starts to thin, confidence can take a hit too. That's where Hims comes in. Hims provides access to medications and licensed medical providers, all through a 100% online process that fits your schedule and not the other way around. They offer convenient access to prescription hair loss treatments with ingredients that work, including oral medications, chews, serums, and sprays. These are doctor-trusted ingredients that can help stop further hair loss and regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months if you're prescribed. You complete an online intake form, you answer a series of questions, and a licensed medical provider reviews your information to determine what's right for you. No awkward pharmacy line before puck drop, just straightforward, personalized care on your schedule with no hidden fees or surprise costs, nothing like that. Now, this part's important. For simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/wingedwheel. That's hims.com/wingedwheel for your free online visit. hims.com/wingedwheel. Featured products include compounded drug products which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. Individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Streaming content online without ExpressVPN is like paying for full season hockey tickets but only being allowed to sit in the concourse. You know there's more out there, you just can't access it. Streaming platforms decide what you see based on your location. That's the reality of it. ExpressVPN, they let you change your online location by routing your connection through secure servers in over 100 countries. So you can unlock more of the library instead of being stuck with a fraction of it. So they get you out of the concourse. We've found ExpressVPN to be the best VPN for a lot of reasons. First, it's blazing fast. You can stream in HD with no buffering. Secondly, it works on all your devices, phones, laptops, tablets, smart TVs, whatever you have. So wherever you're watching, you're covered. And it's incredibly simple. Open the app, choose a location, tap once, and done. For us, we use ExpressVPN to watch There Will Be Blood, one of our all-time favorite movies, and The IT Crowd, a great show to have on in the background when they weren't available in our region. Just open the app, selected a different country, refresh the platform, and there they were. No sketchy workarounds, no lag. So be smart. Stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting access to a fraction of their content. Get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/wingedwheel. Don't forget to use our link at expressvpn.com/wingedwheel to get up to 4 extra months of ExpressVPN today. Some other points I want to bring up before we jump into the Red Wings and Larkin conversation specifically is there's no retrospective right now for Team USA. So I'm not going to dig in too much on it, but this argument does exist for them as well and who they didn't bring. But let's focus on Canada, the team that lost. I think there was still some mistakes made in terms of who they didn't bring and the future outlook. We just talked about what the cadence is going to be for international best on best, barring the powers that be messing it up, which they often do. So we'll see where we're at in 2 and 4 and 6 and 8 years. But there's going to be international best on best consistently. And you need to start to bring in guys who need to be pivotal for you moving forward. Team Canada could not generate offense despite having one of the most stacked offenses ever. And they needed to put together basically an overload line to make sure that they scored a comeback goal in 3 straight elimination games. Connor Bedard, was he worthy over the worst Canadian forwards who actually were brought? In retrospect, yeah, absolutely. I would have taken Bedard over anything that Bennett brought, that Reinhart brought, or Frank, like Marchand this game.
Jarvis, Suzuki.
No. Suzuki belonged. When they flipped,
he had that one game against Czechia, but beyond that,
but how many like best on best tournaments do you see where it's like this guy's been invisible, then all of a sudden he has the big moment, and everybody forgets everything before. You're like, all right, you're good. You made your point.
Yeah, but isn't that the story though? Like, look at Larkin was quiet. He won a lot of key faceoffs. He played key minutes, but he was quiet until he scored.
Only a conversation that Canada and the United States can have, because there's an embarrassment of riches on both sides.
Totally.
And it's a lot of like hindsight. Like if Sam Bennett had 6 goals this tournament, but he didn't. And I think for me, the argument on Sam Bennett is like, we already have Sam Bennett. We've got Tom Wilson, who's a more effective player and having a better year. So bring a Connor Bedard, who's part of the future of Team Canada. And you could relate this to Cole Caulfield as well. Like, these guys are the future. They're the young guys on a part of your country. Start it now and get the ball rolling. And there will be opportunities for some of these guys, more so Connor Bedard this year than Cole Caulfield, to go play in the World Championships and get accustomed that way. But talking about Sam Bennett specifically, you don't need 2 versions of Sam Bennett. You already have Tom Wilson.
They had 5.
And then you've got the other guys who seemed like passengers. So it's a difficult conversation to have once you've seen the results.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like, it's easier to seem smart in retrospect, but yeah, it's the whole.
Certainly could have seen it coming though with this. Like, I think there's very specific players you look at, you're like, well, you left this guy out. He's a pure goal scorer. When you needed a goal at the right time, Sam Bennett was doing dental surgery on Jack Hughes.
Free of charge.
That's true.
It's not easy to get,
especially in America.
Even in Canada, dental's hard to get free of charge.
Right.
So
to give Hockey Canada at least a little bit of devil's advocate here,
jail.
And this is coming from me because there's no big Hockey Canada hater than me. I love Canadian hockey. I hate Hockey Canada. If anybody hasn't been following along for the last couple of years. They did initially leave Sam Bennett off the team, which was
so they got
right
two
call.
opportunities to make the correct
Yeah.
choice.
They got it right 50% of the time because they were missing Braden Point, they were missing Anthony Cirelli, and then ultimately they were missing Sidney Crosby. Without those, Bennett, Jarvis, and one other guy don't see the ice. I think they made a mistake leaving at least one of Schaefer or Chychrun off the team.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Chychrun when I talked about defense earlier.
The puck moving struggles were apparent. Canada's transition only happened when Harley or Makar had it, or when one of the forwards got the puck down low and could just take off with it. So again, it's nitpicking details, but we just saw the game. Those details made the difference. That was consequential.
Especially when it's two teams that have talent like they do. Like, the games are won and lost in the margins.
Yeah, like, again, not to give USA a pass here, I don't think Bill Guerin did a particularly good job. The one where I was wrong, and I'll admit that Guerin was right, I was wrong, was Trocheck was excellent on the penalty kill.
Yep.
They brought him for just that role, and
perfection.
And
I think they went...
They had him playing a ton of, like, face... I think I saw a bunch where he just took the face off and then went right to the bench.
Yeah, so
and that worked.
Trocheck was the one that almost everybody was wrong. US Brass was right about. JT Miller was a dumpster fire. Like, there's no reason one of the goal scorers shouldn't be on there.
Well, it looks like they dug in when they needed to, Brad.
But you look at the two biggest games of what ended up being the two biggest games of the tournament for the States, the only two good teams they played, both went to overtime because they couldn't score more than one goal in regulation. Like, that became a problem for them. And you can look up and down the roster like we just did with Canada and go, okay, well, you still have goal scorers. Okay, but not every player is going to operate at 100%. You need backup plans. Like, the U.S. shut down the McDavid, Celebrini, McKinnon line. They didn't have a good plan B. You look at the States, Matthews played great, but he wasn't scoring. The Kachucks were invisible all tournament. When those guys aren't going, you need a plan B. And it burned both the teams, which, again, why I think the result is fair, because same mistakes on both sides led to the same problems. So again, it all ends up in being equal in the end. But
especially for a team like the States where their defense and goaltending is so otherworldly, it's like you can have a guy who's got defensive deficiencies but can just rip the puck. Like, you can get guys offensive zone starts. Like, you can find ways, and even if they get stuck for an icing, like, when your defense and goaltending is that good, you have to have some faith that we brought these guys for a reason. They're still, like, is anyone totally concerned about Cole Caulfield or Alex DeBrincat's defensive game? I'm certainly not. And especially when you've got the defensive group that the States have, like, we win that draw, I'm not worried about it at all. The puck is getting out of our zone. So, yeah, like, I think both teams had some production issues that could have been alleviated by just making the simple choice and bringing some of the guys who are considered quote unquote pure goal scorers.
And the irony of it all, maybe the most iconic goal in American hockey history, scored by a 5'10", 120-pound forward.
A guy who is famous for just getting bullied and being hurt.
But what can he do? He can score.
His shoulders are a long way from his heart.
No wine glasses tonight in the celebrations.
Yeah,
boys.
they're going to give that guy sippy cups.
Red Solo cups.
He won't even have to open his teeth.
That's right.
Oh my God. Just put the swirly straw right through it. Okay, let's bring this home to Hockeytown. Dylan Larkin, you alluded to it, Brad. Boy, is this energizing. The motivation was never the issue for Larkin. We were wondering, is he dealing with something? Is something nagging him? Never kind of got confirmation of anything one way or the other, but really from like December onwards, Dylan Larkin's not been himself for Detroit. And all eyes from Red Wings fans outside of, allegiances to one country or another were on Dylan Larkin and thinking, how is he going to perform? Very similar to Four Nations. Yeah, it got more and more important of a role as the tournament went on and was a pivotal player like we talked about. And he's now smelled success. Last year, Four Nations, heartbreak, almost an inverted game where I thought, Canada didn't look as good as they did this year, but their goalie bailed them out and they won in dramatic fashion. This year, it was the inverse to a degree. But Dylan Larkin, that means Dylan Larkin wins. And that is his first real monumental victory at an important stage in his entire professional career so far. Does this change Dylan Larkin as a player fundamentally? And does this, even at a more, micro level, revitalize his season to get the Red Wings in for a strong last third of the season or so?
I think given what happened last year where he went to the Four Nations, that was his original coming out party. He was great, stepped up to the moment, and then was junk the rest of the season. I think the fact that he had another great tournament on the world stage would make it even more inexcusable if he is not dominant down the stretch here. Like, Seider's having a great year, MVP candidate, Norris candidate, yada, yada, yada. Larkin's got to be their best player down the stretch, or at least in the conversation. Because right now, he's not even top 3 on the team. You could argue not even top 4. He has to step up now, because we were all, is he hurt? Is something off because he wasn't playing up to his potential last couple months? Sure as hell didn't look hurt this tournament. So that excuse is out the window. He can do it. We've seen it. You have the gold medal. You earn the gold medal. Full marks for everything you've done. There's zero reason you can't play like that for the Detroit Red Wings down the stretch now to get into the playoffs.
I can think of a few to counter.
Okay.
One's name is Zach Werenski. The other one's Quinn Hughes. The other one's Jack Hughes.
Well, the problem is he has to play a bajillion minutes in Detroit, right? And on the United States, I know the game didn't look easy today, but when your team is that loaded, it really helps you simplify your game a little bit.
Hold on. All those players you just rattled off, great players, no doubt. You know who outscored them all of them this tournament? Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin's right winger.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, and there's a running joke. First off, the state of Michigan runs Hockey USA.
Oh yeah,
was that
step aside Minnesota? You're second place now.
Was that all Michiganders on the ice for the winner or close to it?
Well, I saw a video with some crazy stats going. Just to sort of get on a tangent here, Michigan is literally running hockey in the States right now. What is it? The top 2 teams in the NCAA, Michigan State, University of Michigan, and Western Michigan's not far behind. Detroit Red Wings near the top. Grand Rapids Griffins near the top. Olympics, Michigan fingerprints all over it.
We're the Toledo Walleye right now.
Flint Firebirds, one of the top teams in the OHL. Muskegon Lumberjacks, one of the, if not the top team in the USHL. And was it Michigan had the most player? Oh, Megan Keller, golden goal from Michigan. Everything USA hockey and hockey in general right now is all tracing back to the state of Michigan.
Dylan, please bring some friends home. I hope you did so much recruiting. Hey, everyone's impressionable tonight. Trocheck's going to be happy with Bill Guerin. He's going to go to Minnesota now. That's the worst. Hey,
you win and lose with the guys in the trenches, not the executives. So hopefully, this was Dylan's coming out party. I think now, once the dust and the celebration settles, everyone will. I think fans and players, obviously players alike, will transition back to the NHL focus. And Americans right now are super thrilled with what they've seen with Dylan Larkin. But I think tomorrow or before the next game, it's going to be like, all right, I'm glad you were able to do that at the Olympics. Now you got to do it for your club team.
So to bring everyone back to an unfortunate reality, Prashant had a joke in our group chat of how do you go back to watching regular hockey after this?
You literally cannot.
It's this feels like dopamine overdose, and I'm just not going to be able to get the rush out of it. When you go back to NHL hockey, it's going to be an adjustment period. Although there were some moments this tournament where I was watching one team or another, and I was like, "Whoa, this is brutal." So that was a little familiar. But regardless, the Red Wings are coming back to 24 games down the stretch. They hold the 3rd divisional seed, and everything is in play. I don't think the entire division is in play unless Tampa Bay is completely beat up, but they can hold that divisional seed. They will need to improve based on how they were going into the break.
Have we got an update on Victor Hedman's injury?
No, which is
That
big,
looms
but
large right now.
but they were doing fine without him earlier this year.
Kucherov's only going to have to get 180 points now.
They just picked up the next Mark Donk to make their next star stud defenseman behind them.
One thing we haven't mentioned yet, though, that's relevant to the chase, and it was the number one thing we mentioned before the Olympics. Red Wings came out of these Olympics unscathed, despite Tom Wilson's best efforts.
Well, you don't know. We actually don't know what the effect of that was. That's why I'm knocking on wood. If you watched that and then said Larkin had picked something up in terms of his like neck or shoulder, I would not have been surprised. So.
They put his gold medal over his neck, but his head's actually facing the other way.
Poor guy, man. He takes a beating out there. But 24 games. Detroit has, 7 points over the first team out of the wild card spots. It's a margin, but we've seen worse, right? And the rest of the Atlantic, and especially the rest of the East, is going crazy right now. You could hope beyond hope that someone else falls off and other teams are affected by the Olympics, but regardless, Detroit needs to be better than they were going into the break. Simon Edvinsson coming back is going to be the biggest change in the positive direction for that. But yeah, I fully agree, Brad. To really cement this and to make this a playoff push, you don't want to stumble in. You'll take it, but you don't want to fail into the playoffs. For a team in Detroit's context and going on a decade now of not being in it, you want to get in with a statement, with authority. You want to go in with confidence. You want to go in believing that you can do some damage in the first round. Dylan Larkin is the most central figure to that right now. Is he the team MVP? No. Is he the most important player to this team any given night? No, but that doesn't mean that he isn't one of the top players. And their position in the standings right now is in spite of him. So I hope, and I do believe it's possible that this is a Mario speed boost into him getting back on track that way. So other than Dylan Larkin getting some good rep, first, enjoy obviously the gold medal celebrations. I imagine there's going to be some Pedialyte consumed tomorrow morning.
I have an insider at the event right now.
Do you really?
I can't name my sources, but
it's Dylan.
I've got eyes and ears.
Okay.
It's Dylan.
Is everyone hydrating? God, no.
I'm sure Vincent Trocheck is hydrating exceptionally well.
He's enjoying the Italian restaurants are going to have to open crazy early.
Yes.
You typically wouldn't open until 9:30 p.m. They might have to push that up to 9:15.
The Italians will roll their eyes and reluctantly do it.
But I'll tell you though, you don't get as much of a hangover off the organic Italian wine.
They know what they're doing. They're about to put that to the test.
They're going to be the first. Other injury news in the Detroit Red Wings space. This was a bit of an interesting one. Nate Danielson was held out of 2 consecutive Grand Rapids Griffins games. And the first one, he was held out, and there wasn't really a lot of word as to why. Had initially been indicated that there wasn't an injury concern. Later on, evidently, and I missed this, so that's on me, but later on, it was said that he may have been injured, but the second game's lineup came out and Nate Danielson was held out again. And at this point, still, there was nothing clarified that I had seen. I actually went in to see a movie when all of this came out. So I was like, oh, perfect timing. But at first I was like, oh man, heading into the lifting of the trade freeze, is something about to come up here? Nate Danielson might be a central figure. No, they confirmed that. Dan Wilson confirmed that he is hurt and he's going to go for more testing on Monday. So a little bit of a false alarm there, but just an update on why Nate Danielson wasn't in the lineup. So just want to take some time to clarify that one. And speaking of the trade freeze, other aspects of what the Red Wings need to do on the other side of this break, we talk about Dylan Larkin, upping his game, and we talk about Seider and Raymond getting rest and Edvinsson coming back healthy. We have also talked a lot about the trade deadline and Steve Yzerman adding in help for this team, which has earned it. March 6th is coming up quickly here, and is something in the works. There's more reporting that Mackenzie Weegar is someone potentially of interest for the Red Wings. Whatever stock you want to put into that. We've talked about him before. The age and the contract are a question, especially the age with the term remaining. But do you expect anything fast here, or is this more of a wait and see how they do coming out of the break?
The biggest predictor of future events is past events, and Yzerman is the classic wait till the last minute guy, exhaust every option. If you have time, use it. So I'm not saying the Red Wings aren't going to be active. I think Steve's going to at least attempt to be very active, but I feel like anything he does traditionally comes down closer to the wire.
I still believe that, if there's any modicum of control that Mackenzie Weegar can exert over this, he has a 10-team no trade, I believe it is. But if he has any modicum of control, Ottawa would be a more likely destination for him, his hometown. And if they're interested in have a competitive offer, I would imagine that's the most likely destination. But we've talked about him in the past. He's in year 3 of 8 of a $6.25 million contract. He's already 32 years old. So, 2031, he'll be 37 at expiry. Right shot D. It's not the sexiest addition in the world, but we also talk a lot about not every addition would be the sexiest addition. So it's still one that makes you think at the very least.
Probably get a few good years out of him. So that would be something.
And then the cap isn't real. If the LA Dodgers have taught us anything, just, defer. Blame the interpreter, something like that. I think I got those stories straight. One more NHL note before we jump back actually to Olympic hockey to cover one more important piece. You know who the Leafs have for their next home game?
No.
The Ottawa Senators. So they are going to have to honor both Austin Matthews and Brady Tkachuk at their next home game.
And Jake Sanderson.
Well, they could do it in a funny way if they just honor Austin Matthews and then play a happy clip from Shrek or something.
No, that'd be too funny for that arena. That arena is lifeless.
The Goonies then?
That would work. Yeah,
Okay.
They can actually just no one would really know the difference for that one. Anyways, okay, so back over to Olympic hockey. We talked about the American men beating Canada in overtime. The American women did it first, beating Canada in overtime. They had a dramatic late game tying goal and in a 3-on-3 overtime, which was, God, if gassed could be, acted out in a play, it would be those players on the ice. That looked completely gassed that overtime, but Team USA also wins one of the prettiest game-winning goals I've ever seen. And considering, again, the fact that it was a golden goal for Team USA, one of the most legendary goals in American women's history, but Team USA, also on the women's side, triumphs, gets gold over Canada.
I think no matter how these teams were picked, USA was going to be the favorite. But this was what it looks like when a team makes all the correct decisions picking a team and a team makes a lot of catastrophic decisions. Team Canada is notorious, Gina Kingsbury and Troy Ryan, for having their group of vets and very rarely straying from it. In the 4-game rivalry series, they got outscored 27-4, something like that, and they brought back basically the same group, which almost feels unfathomable. USA dummies Canada in the round robin game, and then obviously they end up in the gold medal game. Credit to Canada. I thought that was going to be another 6-0 game, and they held it close. Last 20, 25 minutes of that game, the USA was laying the boot to them, much like Canada was doing to the States today, but Renee Desbiens was the difference there before ultimately conceding a tip with 2 minutes left to send the game to overtime. It was 1-0 Canada in the third period, but that game felt like it was over with 10 minutes left the way it was going. That you just felt the States were going to win that game.
It's like with Canada and Finland on the men's side. It's the Finns had the lead, but with the onslaught and being outshot that heavily, you knew what was coming.
Yeah, 1,000%. The States looked more aggressive, hungrier, faster, more skilled. There was nothing Canada was doing. Outside of when Poulin and Fillier had the puck, nobody else could do anything. And Canada in that 3-on-3 OT put on a masterclass of how to not play 3-on-3 hockey. Turnover after turnover after turnover. The biggest surprise with Megan Keller's goal was it took that long to score it.
Yeah.
That never felt close. And Canada, man, so many formerly great players who were just so obviously washed once you've seen them up against the younger, faster States. I did like the 1-to-1 comparison. Both Canadian women and Canadian men had a young, dynamic, high-skill 18-year-old defenseman that they left off the team. It just was way more obvious on the women's team that they needed her.
Yeah, that tournament felt a lot different. Obviously, gold is sweet for both the men's and women's side, but the American women deserved that start to finish. It was, like you said, everything that the Canadian women could do to at least make it a close game.
The States gave up 2 goals the whole tournament or something like that. Just absurd.
that was pure. That was like 2014 Canadian men domination levels of performance from the American women. Hockey Canada has to stare at that on both sides for 4 years now.
2.
Yeah.
World Cup will maybe help.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or
it just might make it worse. We'll find out.
You win the World Cup, you're like, okay, now the first thought is, how do you bring this into the Olympics, though? Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we're going to hear from you, our listeners, back after this.
We're going to overtime.
Overtime is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. If you want to support the show, you get access to some really great benefits like our bonus overtime episodes, which we record right after these main ones. We let loose, we have fun, you get bloopers, outtakes to usually kick those off, you get thoughts with Evan, so if you think he's been unhinged for this Olympic tournament, that's kind of how he is for every overtime episode. You also get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord, and you're automatically entered into all of our giveaways, with an opportunity to put your name in for our giveaway of 2 tickets to every Detroit Red Wings home game going directly to our Patreon supporters. So again, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast if you want to support the Dub Dub Club. Java says, 46 years ago today, the miracle on ice. The U.S. boys have to dig deep. They can't lose on this date. So they obviously put this in before the game was over. And we should have acknowledged this.
Once again, America plays a team that's far superior to them. All hope is lost. You don't expect to get a win. And we saw a miracle on ice. Even the little guys can beat a hockey nation once in a while.
Miracle on Ice 2. Electric Boogaloo.
There is not a single American who wouldn't take that right now, despite the tongue in cheek. Like, they're like, yeah, hell yeah, why not?
Miracle on Ice 2, Electric Booga Hughes.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
That's fine enough. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that game shouldn't have gone that imbalanced. You thought it'd be more of a 50-50 game, but with how the tilt of the ice went, they'll take it. So yeah, February 22nd, anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. Really, after realizing that, Canada never stood a chance.
We should have known.
That's just hockey poetry. All right, some more questions and comments from our patrons. This one here from Matthew Soler says, Bill Guerin vindication. With how clutch the PK was, can Brad admit Guerin cooked up the right roster?
No, he absolutely didn't.
Yes, he did, Brad. They won gold.
He still made mistakes. The only thing we talked about in the episode.
He made the decisions where it mattered the most.
Yeah, he didn't say, did he cook up the perfect roster? He said, did he pick the right roster?
Fair enough. Yeah, he made less mistakes on the roster than Canada did, but he still made obvious mistakes.
He picked Connor Hellebuyck, and I thought that was a brave choice from Bill Guerin.
Trocheck was the one where I think a majority of people were wrong, and Guerin was right, because Trocheck was awesome in that role in the tournament.
Trocheck and JT Miller in the context of the Rangers was a lot, but if you told me they'd just taken Trocheck and not JT Miller, I'd be like, yeah, you need a guy like him.
Yeah, like as much as you want to justify the roster that he made, and it was a good roster, and most of his decisions worked out, the JT Miller one, even with a gold medal, like there was no excusing that. He was horrible the whole tournament.
The U.S. made the right decisions at all the right spots. Like, look at their goaltending depth. Like, they could have easily tried to galaxy brain who could play, and they're just like, no, Hellebuyck is the best. Put him in there. Away they go. And, tournament MVP. And then their defense, like, I don't think there's really any of them that I would change out. Like, when they needed to make the right decision, they did.
Next comment here from Grand Rapids Girly says, commenting from the second intermission, calling the game-winning goal from Larkin. Yeah, we'll pretend it was Larkin. In all seriousness, Larkin becoming the face-off ace for Team USA has been a pleasant surprise. Where does he rank in the NHL in terms of face-off skills specifically? Most of the time, extremely high-end. Face-off percentages come and go except for like the elite of the elite, but Dylan Larkin, when he's on his game, is absolutely critical. There were moments this season where he was coming away from the dot for faceoffs, which made you think there was an injury or something that he was battling. But by and large, he is one of the better players at it, as long as, all things are going well. And apparently they are. Did it seem in this tournament like a lot of the best on best players just were completely deficient in terms of the ability to win a faceoff? Like, looking at it from a Canadian perspective, like, they couldn't win one for their life. It was terrible.
Nobody could win a damn face-off on that team. Like,
and then when they did, they would have set plays and they'd almost always score.
Bizarre. There's some weird stuff like that. Like, Nathan McKinnon's shooting percentage on the power play is like bizarrely low.
Oh, look at Colorado's power play. It's the worst in the league. And then it goes on Canada, and it's like 48%.
Which you could argue is less than it should be, considering who they have. Frank the Tank says, who's the biggest crybaby of 2026? First, Czechia coach / post-game comments. Second, Solani / post-game tweet. Third, North America / complaining about getting up early for gold medal game. I disagree. I think your third on that list is number one. A team who just lost, they're going to be pissed. You know, Solani for Finland, the Czechia coach, despite his hilarious choice of words. It felt like we were playing 6 guys out there when they literally scored a goal with 6 guys out there.
Did he mean that like tongue-in-cheek?
Nope. He meant it seriously. He didn't realize that they had scored with 6 guys.
It had to have been AI then. There's no way.
Is that not the funniest thing in the world?
Come on. That's so funny.
That's amazing. Like, if you're a Canadian coach reading that, you're like...
Paul Maurice somewhere is like just beside himself. He's like, I wish I could have said that. That's like such a Paul Maurice quote.
Well, funny enough, Team Finland.
Yeah, I know. The crazy.
Honorable mention, Sweden curlers. Just a touch upset.
It's funny because like we'll talk about this more in the bonus at the time, but the non-curling world, everyone was like justifiably up in arms because like the video disproved like the argument from the Canadian curlers, but the curling world was like, this is the equivalent of like a too many men penalty, and everyone's like,
that's why the Olympics the best. Like once every like I guess the Summer Olympics, so once every 2 years, everyone becomes an expert or like gets outraged about the most obscure sport. And then they just completely forget about it.
Me watching someone's javelin form, I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to be your throw.
Like, yeah, I don't think that one's going to do it. It looked a little off. Release was late.
But yeah, the people who were like, they scheduled this game at the worst time. Like, what were they thinking? I'm like, this is the beauty of it all. Are you kidding me?
Nobody understands how time zones work. Like, forget whining. Are people just...
Hey, boys, if you don't mind playing at like, I don't wherever you're playing, whatever Olympics it is, 11 p.m. or 5 a.m., we got to get the people in the Eastern time zone to watch this at the right time. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And even at that, it's the last event, marquee event. They want to get it done before closing ceremonies.
Well, yeah.
Which I don't necessarily think is fully necessary, but like it's always going to be the Sunday afternoon, which, by the way, Sunday afternoon in Italy is 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I don't understand the problem. In Ontario, they allowed you to go buy booze at 6 a.m. They made like an emergency order. Be like, all right, if you need to get alcohol, we will let it happen because this is how important this is.
This is how,
Dougie is always so fast to respond when it's about getting a buzz. He is on it, man.
Man, thank God I could have my Canadian beverage this morning before the game kicked off.
I was say, my hockey team had a big playoff win last night, so we went out for beers and wings after, and we wrapped that up at 11:30, so we were back in bed ready for this game this morning.
Yeah, if this was like a previous Olympics where the game was at 6, you can make a good argument. If you're 24 or younger, you sleep in that day, you go late into the night, and then you just stay up through it. But everyone else, you just wrap it up early, you get up. And like if you have young kids too, and I say this, I don't have young kids, so it might be rich of me to say, I'm sorry to both of you, but this could be part of like formative memories.
It's part of the experience, you know, you get up early, you cheer on your team. Like not every game can be at 2 p.m. your time. Like this is part of the whole sort of Olympic experience. And think about our Swedish Red Wings fans. Like they watch every game at like 3 in the goddamn morning.
Yeah, all year.
You know, we used to do it one time every 4 years or soon to be every 2 years. Like, fine by me.
Winter Knight says it's been a great Olympics. The 3 Red Wings players are clearly all big parts of their teams, even Larkin playing lower in the lineup, and credit to Tralmax as well in Grand Rapids. After 4 nations in the Olympics, do you think these guys have raised their profile at all? P.S. The 3 foot smaller ice seems noticeably faster, 0 time for anything. So the first part, we talked about it, but to clearly state it, I think every single Red Wings player, including Tralmax, has raised their profile. To varying degrees, the jury should not have been at all deliberating on Lucas Raymond. I think he's been that guy for a long time, and this isn't even the first time he's stepped up for Team Sweden. Him and Dahlin. And Nylander had a couple of games in there as well where I thought he was really good, but Lucas Raymond was leading Team Sweden. Mo Seider, not a surprise that he was nearly leading the entire tournament in time on ice per game, and through his last game was leading the tournament in total time on ice among all skaters. And Larkin, I think last year definitely raised his profile. This year cemented it in terms of where he stands in the balance of the best players in the league, for sure.
All Red Wings players' stocks have risen thanks to the Olympics, I would say.
Go join them. Go join them, I say to the other Olympians. The 3 foot smaller ice, so we mentioned this previously. You could see the difference, right? Like, it was very hard to connect anything, generate anything consistently through the neutral zone. There was, to carry the play through the neutral zone, it was 3 point something feet or whatever it was that they were missing. You could see it visually, but it also made for a faster game, a chippier, choppier game. It shifted the balance to the teams who could, maintain, find and maintain possession in the O zones for sure.
Yeah, I liked that the offensive zones were bigger because it led to more sustained offense, more opportunities for goal scoring. The neutral zone being smaller, I think, would translate poorly to the NHL because it relies so much on either dumping the puck in or the drop pass, somebody carries it in. And to be quite frank, there aren't enough uber talented players that can carry the puck through 4 guys standing on the blue line. So I'd be a little hesitant on that, but love the bigger O zones.
Totally agree. And best on best, it
yeah, we drop it to Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon, and if he doesn't see anything, we got to drop it to McDavid, like 2 of the best puck movers on the planet. Like,
meanwhile, in the NHL, it's like a random
Michael Rasmussen's getting a puck dropped to him. He sees a wall of players. He's like, oh God.
Tom Wilson's gonna half his salary is gonna go to fines.
Yeah.
Some idiot from Reddit says, as a gift from the only other Wings fan at my job on my last day, I received a Centennial puck signed by Larkin himself. If you're listening, David, you're a G. Good friend, David. What's your guys' favorite piece of Wings gear / memorabilia that you own? Oh, it's got to be the gifted boxes, the Centennial boxes that the team gave us. That rocketed to the top of the list.
That was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, 100%. All right, one more here. Rocky Mountain Red Wing says, less of a question, more of a comment. Thank you, boys, for all you do for the Winged Wheel fans and hockey in general. Obviously, I never met you, but as a listener for 4 years now, condolences. That's 4 years of listening to us. Apologies. Watching / listening to the pod is like a conversation with my hockey buddies. Only out here, my hockey buddies are Avs fans, and it's just not the same. This gold medal game is a win for hockey and the Jamie Daniels Foundation. Best on best. Want to be the best, you have to beat the best. Go Team USA. Well, being out in Colorado, obviously your buddies are going to be celebrating the gold medal win just like you, but when that dies down, you can make fun of them to say that their Avs legends came up short for Team Canada and were part of the issue today. Just keep pointing to Taves and not being able to bury that puck, and you have to wait a little bit after the gold medal celebrations, but you'll have a little bit of lip service to give them for sure. All right, one more quick break here. When we're back, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast back after this. All right, thank you all so very much for tuning in. We have one more episode before hockey returns, but we'll be back with you nevertheless midweek with another show. We're going to probably have an interview in that one as well, as well. I mean, unless things kick off with trade freezes or anything else like that drumming up. So we'll see how things go, but the schedule right now is we're going to be back with you midweek. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Thank you to the sponsors of the Winged Wheel Podcast, and thank you to our Patreon supporters. Again, patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you want to join the Dub Club. And if you want to help us out, but Patreon's not for you, you can do so a lot of different ways. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Just hitting that subscribe button and leaving a rating, a review, leaving a thumbs up or a heart, or telling your friend about the show. Those are all ways that actually do really help us out a lot. The tickets to Winged Wheel Podcast Night at the LCA, Saturday, March 21st, they are finite. So if you want them, get them, wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings, or the link in the description. And to all of our Patreon supporters, especially our name level supporters, we could not do this without you. Arjun Shanker, Aikford, Martin Norberg, THL Champ, Samuel Soderholm, Klaus Sorensen, Mikkel Predstrup, Glenn Brabham, Rain Dano, Below Average Ball Hockey Goalie, Matthew M. Rice, Darb EQ, Sea Lion, Detroit Style, Deep Dish Cider, Bengo Bango, Hassam Al-Qassam, Asher Killian, Kalen Wood, Alex Toger, That's What I Appreciate About You, Derek Enstam, Matt McKay, Andy Hardcore, Sam Bankson, Citizen High Five, R.A., Aaron Hudson, Admiral Matt S. at the Cheesebag Navy, The El Cato, Stephen Ortlieb, Jonathan Miller, Give Blood Fight Probert, DJ Denton, Carl, Brutanen Nanaluski, Raul Pudd, Jay Gollum, Settlers of Catan Stan, John Engels, Alex Bonilla, CB55, Connor Scovey, Adam Zuiza, Adam Rose, Denny's Gamer Girl, Drinking Bailey's from a Shoe, Hockeytown Matt, Mr. Kuzi, Chaotic Monkey, Craig Kibble, Iserplan Stan, Clip Clop Nene, Podgy713, Unapologetic Gibson Truther, Griffin, not from Grand Rapids, Winter Knight, Marty, Kazi the OG13, Jeff Pridemore, Eric Hill, Butts Carlton, Best James Bond, Beer League Legend, Alec, Mark Hernandez, Slim Smitty Cards, Grand Rapids Girly, Anna Sleeman, William, Mike Asher, August, Brian Munn, Improved But Flawed, Chris 99 Jones, Trevor Centerfit, Adams Red Wings Takes, Kurt Chin, Adam Ernie Slander, Kachuk Brothers, Walk to Church, Daniel Morosky, Zach Mounts, Logan Stull, General Andy Bohan of the Cheesebag Army, Quaz, Dylan Larkin Trade Sacrifice, the United States of Hockey, Banana is Larger, Matt Keeler, Linda Hull, Connor Leighton, Good Cop, Brad Cop, Josh Yelton, Brad Simmons, Darren Fick, Bex, The Hodag, The Hat 123, Daddy Pastor Jake, The Pew Pew Laser of Love, 200-Foot High Compete, Maximilian, Commander Ben Baron of the Cheesebag Space Force, Sandin-Pellikka's Pet Pelican, Griffey Boy, JM Rhapsody, Frank Stanley, Rosie Posey, That Other Guy, Pucking Puck, Tom Iserplan Respecter, Carl Thames, Nerno, Steven, Aaron, Corey Prida, All Motor No Hands, Gene Sullivan, Stinky Britches, James Pridemore, Upernadian, Adrock, Jablonski, Drop the Puck, Eric Nance, Ann Stanislavski, Jim, Valiant Massive Balls, Peter Swanson, Wings Fan in St. Louis Scott, Lucas Raitmond, Cops, Gump Lip, Trent Thorough, Grepsky, Evan Beckner, C.E. Hayes, Finney to the Rafters, Jacob Marsh, Falkness, Fight Night at the Joe, Axel's Sandy Pelican, The Octopi's Ninth Leg, Finney the Pooh, I'm Evan, you're Evan, we're all Evan, Cassidy Hart, and your second favorite patron. Thank you all so very much. Talk to you midweek.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to visit wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find ways to support the show, like Patreon, official podcast merchandise, and more. And don't forget to follow us on X at Winged Wheel Pod, at Ryan Hanna, WWP, at Brad Crisco, and at Hockeytown Evan, as well as Winged Wheel Podcast on Instagram.